This is my favorite moment of the day. When I can finally take off this hat and when I can take off my sunglasses, and because the light is now low enough, and it's at this point where White Sands just gets magical. Oh, it's so good. It is so beautiful at this time. It's no longer harsh. It's much, much prettier now. And we're getting some of that nice atmospheric light that is reflecting down. And everything just gets really soft and really subdued. I'm trying to cover my my camera here. I'm like shielding it with my body like this because the wind is so strong. And I'm trying to shoot this at like F11 on here. And so I'm having to raise the ISO a little bit higher than I normally would. I got it like around 250 right now, just so that I can shoot with a faster shutter speed. Gonna block there we go. Yep, I'm good. Blocking a little bit of the light from reaching the, from hitting. I have a lens hood on, but I'm still trying to be careful. Block it again. All right, so I think if I just pinch and zoom and look in here, I like this little bit of light up here is obviously, is also pretty great. It's also pretty hard photographing these dunes without getting some grass in your shot, without some of this. Should I, like clone them out? Should I remove them in Photoshop? Or should I maybe just remove a few of them, like the ones that are the most, noticeable, and maybe just leave a few, just so that it doesn't look too perfect, if you know what I mean? Or should I just leave it in? Just don't even touch it. Just leave it as is. I mean, just looking at this on the back of the pocket here, like to me, like the darkest ones are the ones I see most, like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one over here. I mean, those really catch my eye. And that's really the kind of like the yardstick that I tend to go with whenever I'm trying to make a decision about something like this. It's like, kind of like zoom out, look at the image, and is there anything there that catches the eye? Is there anything that makes your eye, kind of like bounce around in the image? And I usually just kind of go through and remove one and another and another and another, and then get out and look at it again. And once I feel like it's, like the volume on it has been turned down a little bit and it's not feeling quite as textural, and there's not as many like visual distractions there, that's usually when I stop. I don't know. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer to any of this. I mean, everyone has their own thing, has their own approach. But I know from my own experience from doing this is that, sometimes it just, I don't know, sometimes it just looks too perfect, too manicured. I think it's looking pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't have like my heavy duty tripod with me tonight, because it's a hard tripod to be carrying out here in these dunes. And last time I tried, it really wore me out. And so I decided to go with a lighter one. And unfortunately, this one probably will shake a little bit more. And so that's why I'm trying to cover it and shoot with a decent shutter speed. Try it again. Ugh, yeah. Wind is so strong. Anyway. Oh, yes. Best time of day. Absolute best. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, now we're starting to really get some beautiful color. I think I'm going to stop talking to a camera. I think I'm going to start taking some photos, or start taking more photos. Gorgeous color out here. This is exactly the kind of color and exactly the kind of look that I'm going for. Let's see if you can see on the back here. See, just a really nice gradient of orange color out there on the horizon. And these giant dunes in front. And I think I got a pretty good angle on it here, where there's some alternating tones of, it's a little bit dark in the foreground, and then it gets a little bit brighter, just one step beyond that. And then it's kind of like somewhere in between on the third step, and then there's a fourth. Very, very soft, light tonality. Absolutely beautiful atmospheric color right now. And I just love that gradient. I love that gradient, that just burst of orange out there on the horizon, and how it kind of goes through the spectrum, how it kind of goes from orange into a little bit of green. At least I think I can see a little bit of green in there. Green into cyan, into blue, and then up into purple. And I think that's pretty awesome. I really like that. Starting to lose some of the motivated light from over there. Some of the light. Oh, I was looking at these over here earlier. I think I'm gonna need to stop what I'm doing and take a picture of that, see if it turns out. Was supposed to be dying down, and it does not seem to be dying down at all. It just seems to be getting stronger, and it is just blowing this sand everywhere. Oh God. And just this sand is just getting into, oh my God, I'm just being pelted with sand and wind. Oh, this is rough. Oh God. Well, unfortunately, as luck would have it, it's looking like it's going to be another god-awful evening. What looks like clouds over there behind me, like an overcast sky, that's actually all gypsum. It's all fine white particles of gypsum. My camera's about to blow over, and I had to get behind like a really big dune here, just to give myself a break, because I was so tired of being pelted by the sand. Well, that was a little bit wild. As soon as that sun dropped below those mountains over there, all of a sudden, all of this over here behind me just got so amazing. I wasn't feeling too confident in this evening. I wasn't feeling too good about it. But then as soon as that sun dropped below those mountains over there, and we started getting into blue hour, and these dunes turned that awesome lavender color, and we started getting some of that purple and blue and pink out there on the to the north, out there on the horizon behind these white dunes. Oh, it was so good. It's the kind of thing that, it just makes it so worthwhile. Coming out here, standing around, and just dying in the wind, and just feeling terrible, and questioning, why am I doing this? Why am I coming out here? Why am I bothering with this? Because this, quite frankly, it sucks. It's so uncomfortable. It's terrible. I'm not finding anything I'm happy with compositionally. And then, bam, within 30 seconds, everything just changed. And I just found myself just running across the dunes here with my camera and tripod, just trying to get as many shots as I possibly could. Just look at these clouds up here, hanging out above these dunes. This was really good just a few minutes ago. Beautiful light and this pair of dunes right here next to each other. And those clouds were right over them when I took an image earlier, and it was, yeah, this is my best evening here so far. The past few ones have really not been good because of the weather. But tonight was good. So I hope to do more of this. Hopefully tomorrow will be just as good, because I'll be right back here again. And now it's time for the long hike back. And yeah, that'll be nice. I'm gonna have the dunes all to myself. No one else out here on a Saturday night even. So as you may know, if you watched the film Oppenheimer, which I assume most of you have by now, New Mexico is where Oppenheimer and his team developed the atomic bomb, and where the first atomic bomb was, detonated and tested. Spoiler if you haven't if you haven't seen the movie. But this, general, area of the country here in New Mexico, in addition to Oppenheimer and the atomic weapons program, there's always been a pretty notable military presence here. And there's an Air Force base that is just outside of this park that is right next door. And this, this entire area here is, basically like a training ground for Air Force pilots. Oftentimes there are planes going by. I've seen some drones go by. So people probably, learning how to fly a drone, probably using like a PlayStation controller or something, which is true. I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but the military was spending crazy amounts of money on custom controllers, but all their new recruits grew up with video games, and so they just gave up, and they're just like, why are we making our own controllers? We just need to get a video game controller, because that's what they're comfortable with, and they know. This area here, it's pretty common for fighter planes to go over, for drones to go over. Every now and then you'll hear like a sonic boom that'll, and it'll shake the ground, and it's wild when it happens. I'm sure people who live here are probably accustomed to it, but it's a little bit strange. But anyway, earlier today, I was at the north end of the park, and I was out there doing some photography. And while I was shooting, I heard this whoomp, like this sound. And I just assumed that it was, another sonic boom, that it was, a plane high in the atmosphere flying by. But what actually happened is that a fighter went down and crashed, and the pilot survived. The pilot was taken to the hospital. Apparently, they ejected safely, and the plane crashed. And so, when I was here, all of a sudden, all these trucks came in, and all these vehicles. I mean, it was like 150 people from the military, like black ops kind of stuff, just suddenly just descended onto the park. And they actually closed off 90% of the park, because they have to go out and recover the plane. And apparently they said they were concerned that there could be some toxic materials or something. I don't know what the hell that's all about. I overheard some people in the parking lot earlier theorizing that it was actually a UFO, and that, this whole thing is just to cover a plane went down. But yeah, an actual plane went down. So they've closed off most of the park. And so I'm in an area of the park that I've actually never been in before. This is like towards the entrance. And part of the reason why I've never come here is because of, vegetation like this. There's just loads and loads and loads of vegetation. And so, that's not really what I came here to shoot, and that's usually what I avoid. But I don't know, I'm kind of like, now all, considering the circumstances and everything, I'm leaning into it. I'm trying to work with what has been given to me and what's available to me this evening. So I ended up not being too, I don't know, once the sun started getting a bit low, I wasn't as excited about what I was photographing over there. But now I've come over here just a little ways away, and I saw this earlier when I was hiking in and made a mental note to come back to it later. And I'm really glad that I did, because there's this huge chunk of solid gypsum here. Look at that beautiful gradient out there on the horizon. Hopefully you're able to see that. So there's this wonderful light, and what's drawing me to this is not just the like the sculptural quality of it, which is interesting, but it's also the light, because obviously we have some of this western light that's hitting it right there, and then directly behind it over here you can see there's like a little splash of light right there, and then of course there's the gradient out there in the horizon. So let me just turn this around, and what I'm doing here is that my instinct is to shoot it like this, right? I mean, just kind of like stick it right in the center of the frame. But what I'm doing instead is I'm kind of doing something a little more like this. It's kind of hard to emulate on the Pocket 3. It's something kind of like this. It's a little bit different. Not like a normal composition that I would normally do. I have a tendency just to kind of, put on my Wes Anderson hat and kind of put everything center frame, right? I mean, and sometimes that is absolutely the right way to do something. Sometimes it suits, the subject, but I think it's also kind of a bad habit. At least I know I get in that habit sometimes. And, I try to find other ways to compose an image, and other ways to see a subject, and not resort to old habits. So doing something a little bit different. And I think it's working out pretty well. One of the things I am doing here, I'm raising up the camera a little bit, and I'm pitching it down some and shooting it at, like this is like 24 millimeters on this Fuji GF lens. Kind of wish I had something a little bit wider for this, but it's okay, it'll do.